please. And we'll switch it around.
Welcome back to Looking at Hollywood. We're going to play our first trivia pursuit. Can you name this television show? Now listen. Do 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 do. Hey, do you remember what it is? My Three Sons, and we have Beverly Garland who played Barbara on it. Beverly Garland has done so much, but one thing she really did that surprised me is that before Policewoman, she was the first career police officer on a black and white series called Decoy. So let's eavesdrop with Skippy and Beverly Garland now.
Beverly Garland, you love Gore Vidal. You love to read it. Mm-hmm. He's one of my favorites also. But you have something in common when you read his Lincoln.
Yes. I do.
Yes, you do. You're
Did you know that?
Of course.
How did you know that?
Your great-great-grandfather.
Yes, it was Secretary of Treasury under Lincoln. And I was so fascinated when I read Lincoln, and all of a sudden have him read about, having him talk about the cabinet and then reading about my great-great-great-grandfather who was Secretary of Treasury under Lincoln. It was just wonderful. Yeah. He's one of my favorite authors, as you can tell.
And you're very political. You're not just an actress.
Well,
but you're very political. Beverly Garland's political, concerned for the world.
Well, I also I'm on the board of the directors of the LA Visitors Convention Bureau, and we've had some tough times. And as you know, I own a hotel, and so that's one of the reasons I happen to be on the board.
Right.
And they've asked me to be on the marketing committee of that wonderful place. And we all of us out here have got to stop knocking Los Angeles and start looking at this whole place that we live in, this wonderful place, in a positive attitude instead of a negative attitude. Everybody wants to write negative things. That's what sells newspapers. I understand that. But you have to look at Los Angeles and say, look what it really has. It has some wonderful, fascinating things. It's got Hollywood. It's got a beautiful downtown. It's got Beverly Hills. It's got the beaches. It's got Santa Monica. It's got the mountains. It's got a lot. Los Angeles, when people say, when foreigners come, they say, I'm going to go to San Diego. They think they're going to Los Angeles. Everything is Los Angeles.
Everything is LA, right.
Everything is LA, And so I think that if we all started trying to be more positive about where we live, that the mindset would work. It's mind over matter.
Right, of course.
If you keep putting in your computer positive things, you're going to get positive things out. If you're going to keep putting in that computer negative, I can't, I won't, it's lousy, it's awful, it's terrible, it's people are done, and bad. If all of us start thinking positively, we might have a fabulous Los Angeles.
I'm looking at you. Right now, you're expressing yourself without words of enthusiasm. Beverly Garland, always been positive like this?
I think
Even
so.
as a child?
Yeah, I think so.
Going to school and
pretty positive.
In Glendale, going to school. You grew up in Glendale?
Well, no, I didn't. Well, yes, I did.
Went to
yes,
school.
I went to kindergarten. I went to grammar school.
Right.
And then I went to junior high school.
Right.
And then my father was a traveling salesman, and so we went to Phoenix, Arizona. Now, Phoenix, Arizona had 3 high schools, 1 drive-in, and 1 department store. And all the Indians sat in front of this department store and sold their jewelry. I wish I had bought it then. I mean, Phoenix was nothing. It was mountains, and it was beautiful, and it was clean, and I look at Phoenix today, and it goes forever. I mean, and that's all land that we looked at and went, nobody's ever going to live out there. Never going to live out there.
Favorite actress you did a movie with Tuesday Wells. Oh, what a movie
Isn't
that
she
was.
wonderful? Yeah.
My favorite.
Yeah.
She's so underrated.
Yeah, she's a wonderful. Somebody
She's
is
so-
writing a book about her and
Is she?
asked
Are
me
they really?
to talk about
I
her a
love
little
her.
bit. And she was so wonderful to me.
You played her mother.
I played her mother in Pretty Poison. In fact, Time magazine
Good
said that
movie.
it was probably way ahead of its time because it had to do with throwing all the garbage into the water and all about the environment. And we were not paying much attention to environment
Right,
in those
right,
days.
right,
The little hot dog, the little guy that ran the hot dog stand. I'll never forget that. He takes all the garbage and crapple dapple and stuff from this little stand and throws it into this wonderful, marvelous Great Lake kind of thing that they had, and then he goes over to his motorcycle and takes it and just cleans a little spot off of it where a little bug is gone. Absolutely destroying the environment. All he cared about was this black motorcycle. I mean, the picture just had some wonderful things. Noel Black was a wonderful director, and Tony Perkins. It was so good. It was really
great
good.
movie.
Yeah,
It's
it
a
was
great
really
movie.
good. And
Tony Perkins, was
I
he-
love getting shot. I love things where I
Well,
can get
policewoman,
shot.
come on, you're a
Well, I
policewoman
wasn't
in this-
shot in Policewoman.
No, but
though,
you were around. Beverly Garland was around New York. You saw New York.
Yes,
didn't you?
oh yes.
Outdoors scenes.
Outdoors? Oh, let me tell you something
were on
about
location
outdoors. Yes,
constantly.
well, we changed our clothes in Schrafft's. I mean, we had no place to go.
Good place to have
Yeah,
lunch.
That's right. Well, we never ate there. I mean, we changed our clothes there. We would grab a cab, and nobody knew we were shooting this series in New York, so we didn't have any police helping us at all. I mean, people thought we were crazy. This show called Decoy. Was a story about a New York policewoman who was an undercover cop.
Right.
And when they decided to do it, it was such a good show. But instead of waiting and going network with it, they went syndication with it. And so it did not play in Los Angeles, and it did not play in New York. So nobody saw
really?
it. Nobody saw it. And so after 39 shows, I come home, and before I had done Decoy, I had done a show called The Joker's Wild with Frank Sinatra.
Great.
And I played Eddie Albert's wife in it, Casey, and it was a wonderful show for me, and I loved it, and it was a great movie. And Frank was fabulous.
Were
in
you
it.
under contract at all with the studios?
No. Somebody
You didn't go to
said,
school
Warner
with-
Brothers came to me many years later
Right.
and said, Beverly, you just were not pretty enough to be under contract. You were always a good actress, but you just were not pretty enough. And I went,
Really?
gee, that's too bad, but that's how it was. So I was never under contract. No, I was always a character woman. I've always been a character woman.
You consider yourself as a character woman?
Oh, yes.
Beverly,
Oh,
really?
yes, absolutely.
Really?
And you're
There's
so
more
pretty.
work for you.
And she's so pretty.
I really look at myself as a character woman.
Really?
And I always, when I did summer stock and got started in summer stock and everything, I always played character
Bing
women. I
Crosby's
played-
wife. You played Bing Crosby's wife in the
Yes.
show. Bing Crosby show?
Yeah, played Bing Crosby's wife. Played.
That was a long time.
Yeah, that was a long time ago.
How was Bing Crosby to work with?
Very quiet, very unto himself. The fabulous thing about Bing Crosby is that he had, what do you call it when you can look at something and you know it right away? What's that?
Intuition.
Instinct?
No. I mean, when you look at the pages of the script and you've got it
Oh,
memorized.
he has that memory. Of,
Yeah,
yes,
that
yes,
memory
yes,
thing,
yeah,
whatever.
right,
See, you and I don't have that memory.
We don't have it,
We
absolutely.
can certainly tell by talking
Did
to
he
us
have
both.
that, really?
He would come in. I would come in the morning, and he would say to me, "What are we going to do today?" And I'd say, "We're going to do scene blah 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 blah." And he'd take his script and he'd go, "Da da, da da, da da."
Really?
Okay.
And
Put it down.
takes.
And
Many
that's
ta-
it.
And many
he
takes?
remembered the words to every song he had ever heard
Really?
or ever sung. He remembered the tune of every song he had ever heard or ever sung. He just was incredible. He was very into himself. He wanted to be friendly, but he was very. I don't know whether Bing Crosby was shy or not. And the funny thing is,
You
I've
really
got
never
some,
got to really know him.
no, I never really did because he doesn't let you know him. But you
There are a
know,
lot of actors like that.
like
don't they?
that. But when I watch him on screen, he is the most relaxed, wonderful actor.
But not off screen.
No,
He's
And
not.
warm.
no, he's just wonderful. It just flows out of him.
How
It
about
just
Sinatra?
drips
How about
off
Frank?
of him. Frank is wonderful.
Yes, oh, look at Beverly. You're saying that.
Like one of those screamers, you know.
Oh, she really likes Frank, doesn't she?
Frank is the kind of actor, you walk in and he goes, all right, you walk here, you walk there, you come in the door. Okay, you're going to say, no, I'm going to say no. Okay, let's shoot it. And the director would say, wait a minute, Frank, nah, come on, let's shoot it. Can we have one rehearsal, Frank? Okay, we can have one rehearsal. Now you have a rehearsal. That's it. Okay, let's shoot it. I mean, he just hates to rehearse, which is wonderful. That's that's how I like to work also. So that was good, That was fun. But
You've done a lot of horror films, my darling.
Oh, yes,
Mad
yes,
films, because you have a cult following.
Yes,
Lots of
And
people.
isn't it so
kids
funny?
love you.
When you do those films, you do them, and you throw that script away, and you never think about it. You never dreamed that in 10, 15, 20, 40 years that somebody would say, tell me, what was the picture like when you did It Conquered the World? You go, I conquered the world. What did I do when it conquered the world? Can you tell me a little bit about it? Well, the things came down and they bit you on the neck and then, oh yeah! I mean, you never thought that anybody would ever care. And now they're all cult movies. It's unbelievable to me.
Queen of the Bees, they called you.
Queen of the Bees, that's
You're
right.
not the only.
Well, because I
there's
was a good screamer, you see. I was the
that one-
best screamer, yes. Now that's a little scream.
Beverly.
That's just a tiny
That
scream.
is a scream.
That's only a tiny scream.
How about your throat at the end of the day?
No, I was just a good screamer.
Really?
Yeah.
You had to work out many screens, or just
Oh
once?
no, I always had. I think I was hired because I was a good screamer. I mean, I certainly wasn't hired because I could ride a horse. I mean, horses and I did a lot of westerns.
You did
too.
westerns,
Oh, and
yeah.
you have to do all your own
Who's
stunts.
some of the favorite Western stars you liked?
That I worked with?
With,
Wild Bill Elliott. Do you believe it?
Did you work with him? Beverly. Isn't that wild?
Yeah.
I love it.
I was 10 and he was 20.
Okay.
John Ireland. I love John Ireland. And
That's Shelley Winters' favorite boy, too.
yeah, he's the best. I really liked him. He was wonderful. We did a couple of westerns together. Yeah, it
Let's
was
get
fun.
back.
Yeah, all the stuff I did was great.
Beverly Garland, let's get back to Hollywood, the O
All right.
days. I mean, the O days of Hollywood. You were here in the 50s.
Yes, I was.
Today, look at Hollywood today, Beverly. This is the 90s.
Mm-hmm.
You're a very successful business lady.
Thank gosh.
You saved your money. First of all, what do you think of Hollywood today, Beverly, when you see it today?
Well, I mean,
Come on.
you've got to realize that life is going to go on, and you've got to look at it and say, what is positive about Hollywood?
Here we go,
today,
the positive. So you're going to keep it positive.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll leave it there then. Okay.
You've got to look at it and say, okay.
You're not going to give me nothing negative about Hollywood,
No,
are you?
because it's we have to go with the world, and it's changed.
I don't like Hollywood
You know?
today, Beverly, and I'm sorry. I hate to say
I think
that.
there are a lot of people who don't like
I
Hollywood
just don't like
today.
it. I just
it's
don't.
a whole
I
business.
grew up here, too.
But it's a business now. It's
Yeah.
not the same. It doesn't have, Mr. Cohen who owned the studio,
Right.
Mr. Mayer.
Right,
I mean,
right.
and Mr. Warner Brothers
Absolutely.
and Mr. Warner. I mean, those people are gone, and that's a whole different. But we're in a different elk now, and who knows what's going to happen to us?
Beverly.
You have to just go on. You have to understand that. It's like dying. I mean, are you
Yes.
afraid to die? I'm not afraid to
No,
die.
no.
You know why I'm not afraid to die? Because there's something wonderful.
Yes.
It's out there. I'm
Yeah.
going. My
Yeah.
God.
Beverly.
Isn't that wild?
God, I can't wait.
You know.
The way you're telling me, I want to
I
die.
mean, life goes, and you've got to embrace it and go with it. And if you sit here and go, oh, I wish Hollywood the way it was,
I
you
know, I'm
you
not
can't
that-
do that.
Okay, Beverly. Husband.
Wonderful,
successful builder.
Yes, wonderful.
Wonderful guy. How did you meet him?
I met him on a blind date.
Blind date?
I
Oh.
thought he has a very, his sense of humor is very quiet, very kind of inside, very much like, he reminds me of Fred McMurray.
And so all
he
my
does.
children,
Yeah,
all my
All my
sons.
sons. And my 3 sons, he reminds me of him. And when I first met him, I really thought he was very dull. Because he has such a dry sense of humor. And I was going out with these really kind of, guys that were, you
John
talk,
Ireland's.
the Frank Sinatras of the world, fast, baby. I mean,
Did you go out with Frank
and,
Sinatra, Beverly
well,
Garland?
I mean, so
Come
I
on.
meet,
You're not
story about
Beverly.
So
Come
I
on.
meet Filmore. Listen to his name.
Okay.
Filmore,
Yeah.
Pajot, Crank.
Ooh.
And I thought to myself, Pajot, so French. And I thought, I went with him, and then I decided not to go with him, and then I decided I would go with him, and. Then I married him. I only knew in 3 months that I married him, and I've been married to him for 32 years, and he's fabulous, and he's been so
you
good
have
to me.
you have children.
And I have 2 wonderful children, and he was a
step-
widower, and so I have 4 children. I have his 2 children and my 2 children.
And-
But I'm going to tell you about Pajot. So finally, after I married him, I
Right.
said, Fillmore, tell me about your French relatives, Pajot.
Oui.
He said, Peugeot? I said, yes, the French. I mean, I want to know about our French relatives, right? You know. He said, honey, I hate to tell you this, but I was named after a tombstone designer.
Did you really?
If I had known Filmore, I mean, I may not have met Filmore Peugeot Crank. Can you imagine?
What's the cemetery about? The Hollywood Cemetery.
Oh,
Tell me about that one.
I've got to tell you that. You know, when I came back to Glendale and I had to work,
Right.
and so I worked at the dead letter office at Forest Lawn.
Did you really?
And so I'm actually what I am is the mail girl at Forest Lawn.
Right.
So the man says to me, he takes me all through Forest Lawn. He shows me everything. He shows me, you know, the tuxes that they put on you when you die.
right.
They have no backs.
Right.
Did you know that they have no backs?
No.
No backs
No
because
backs.
you're lying on them. You don't need a back.
Really?
No. They don't even make the front.
Right, the front.
And and he shows me all the caskets and the things in there. Then he takes me to the garage and he said, now you're the mail girl, and you will, you're going to pick up your bodies. My bodies?
Bodies?
Yes, you're going to pick up your bodies at the Glendale post office. I said, I pick up my bodies? What kind of bodies? I said, I don't think I'm big enough to carry. He said, no. These are bodies that people have sent to you that have been cremated, and we're going to put them in.
Cremation.
Okay. Now, I want you to remember, I'm going to tell you all of this, and I want you to remember that you see these garages, they're all numbered. Do you understand that? I said, yes, I do. He said, they're numbered, and you are only to take the car in 1A.
Ooh.
Do you understand that?
Yes.
I said, yes. He said, would you repeat it? Yes. I'm only supposed to take the car in 1A. Now, don't ever forget it, will you?
Right.
These are all here. Don't forget it. I said, no, I won't. Okay. So I go pick up my bodies. I do my thing. You know, I work. So one day I come in and I go down to the garage and I go, oh my dear heavens. And then I remember him looking at me so sternly saying, and don't you ever forget, always take the car in 1A. Yes, sir. So I get into the car. I go to the Glendale post office. I pick up all my bodies. I pick up all my mail. And all of a sudden, there's a phone call. Is the Forest Lawn mail girl here? Yes, I'm here. You want it on the phone. Hello? The man says to me, we're having the funeral, and you have the body. I have taken the hearse, but I didn't know. I mean, you know, and all the little drapes, the little velvet drapes were all shut, and I didn't know there was a hearse in there. That was my last day.
Waitress, elevator. You've done a lot.
I've done them all.
Starting your career in show business.
In
as
fact,
an
when I was a
actress.
waitress, I worked at a place called the Castaways, and Betty Davis came in, and I waited on her table, and I had done a show in Laguna and at the Playhouse, and which was where I was discovered. And she said to me, I saw your play, and I want to tell you, I think you were such a good actress. And I went,
Oh, wow.
That's great. That's great. She lived in Laguna, didn't she?
Yeah.
She stayed in Laguna,
Yeah.
she did. Let's get back.
To Frank Sinatra.
Let's get back.
Frank Sinatra.
Not to Frank Sinatra. Has it been hard for, because you're such a positive lady, and you're very sure of yourself. You got this business
Yes.
at the Garland Hotel. How did this all become?
Well, you know, that's a funny story, really. My husband's a builder-developer.
Right.
And so many years ago, the Weddington family bought a lot of property in the valley. And
So
they
Gene
bought
Autry's
this,
thing?
they bought this piece of property, and Gene Autry acquired it,
Right.
and he was going to build his television station on it. In the meantime, down in Hollywood, where he had his station
Right.
and his radio station, they offered him the property, and he said, if I can buy this piece of property, I will let that piece of property go. So there
Right.
was 7 acres sitting there.
Really?
So Filmore, my husband Filmore Peugeot Crank, we call him God, he's perfect. He decided that...
Is he perfect?
He thinks he is.
Okay.
And so anyway, he said, I'm going to get this piece of property and build a wonderful apartment house on it with little streams and trees and da-da-da. It was fabulous. So, okay, we're going to do that. Now we're entrepreneurs. We have to
Right.
borrow money, you know? So we go to the Valley National Bank. And the Valley National Bank, do you remember a man by the name of Casey Stengel who used to be manager of the Mets?
The Mets, of course.
Okay.
Yes.
Now, Casey Stengel was a friend of ours.
Friend
but
of your
Casey
husband's and yours, yes.
Stengel's brother-in-law owned the bank that we had to borrow the money.
Ah.
So, Casey Stengel came over and he looked at this piece of property. And he said to Filmore, he said, you know, Filmore, he said, I think you ought to build a hotel. And Filmore said, oh, I don't know anything about running a hotel. He said, oh, it's so easy. All you do is hire a manager. collect your coupons, go to Europe,
Great.
and live happily ever after. And I said to Filmore, don't pass go, don't collect $200, do that immediately. So we built the hotel.
It wasn't easy at the beginning.
No.
You went there, you even helped in the rooms,
That's
cleaned
right.
all the family,
yes,
right?
Yes,
You did everything.
We did everything.
You start,
Yes, we did everything.
but you make
Everything.
sure, Beverly Garland,
We did
when you're
everything.
going into the Beverly Garland hotels today, you even go sometimes incognito. Now, you don't even sign your name when you register. You go in, you want to test it and see who is doing who, what they're doing to the Beverly Garland Hotel. Tell me about that. That's kind of funny. I think it's cute, doesn't it?
Yeah.
What is that all about? You want to find out, you want to make sure everything is done right.
Yes, oh, absolutely.
I love that.
You know, in fact, a lot of times, you know, what you do is you go to the hotel and you register early with another shift,
Right.
and then stay in a room, and then nobody knows that you're there,
Right.
you know, and then you ask for room service, and you ask for an iron, and then you ask, you know, but you know, people do the darndest things in hotel rooms. I mean, one man came in and painted with spray paint
Really?
the whole hotel room red.
Oh.
Another family came in, and they stayed for 5 days. And every morning they came down and they paid their bill. And then on the 6th day, they didn't show up. So everybody thought, I wonder where they are. And they'll always come down and pay their
Right.
bill. So we went, knocked. Hello, maid, you know. Finally walked in. They had taken everything.
They took everything, cleaned the whole room.
Taken everything that was not nailed down.
Are you-
I guess they figured that, you know, I mean, after all, we've been here 5 days. You know, this is our stuff, you know, and so they took it. People come in and they'll say, we'd like to have an iron. And I'll say, well, would you like to have an ironing board? Oh, I don't want an ironing board, just an iron. You know, well, we do have ironing board. No, just an iron. But I mean, our ironing boards are small. Just an iron. All right. Yes, of course, because the customer's always right. And then they iron on the rug. And then they leave the iron on
the rug and burn.
Face down like that, and they burn the rug, you know? I don't think anybody really understands. You know yourself. Something happens in your house. You know
Yes.
how long it takes to
Right.
call
Of
the
course.
guy, get
Of
it
course,
fixed.
of course.
I don't have people standing there with
Right,
rugs.
right.
You know, and carpet waiting to put this down, you know?
But your hotel's very. How many hotels do you have? How many are there?
Well, I had 2. Now I have 1.
One.
I
In the
sold-
Valley, in
yes,
North Hollywood.
Yes. It's right
Beverly,
next to Universal.
10 years ago, 83, Walk of Stars. You got that star on Hollywood Boulevard.
Oh, yes, right on
On
Highland.
Hollywood and what?
Highland.
Highland.
Yeah.
Walk
There
of
it is.
Beverly Garland. There it
Yes,
is.
There it is. And, I have a funny story to tell you about that. My secretary went down because we were going to do an ad for the hotel. And the hotel, don't forget, just call 1-800-BEVERLY in case, you know, you ever want to stay at a hotel.
That's it?
Wonderful
That's your
hotel.
that's the number?
1-800-BEVERLY. That's all you have to do.
Simple.
We will take such good care.
Good, Beverly.
Anyway, so we have this wonderful star, and so she's polishing it all up, and we're going to do a wonderful ad. So she puts some roses down, and then she takes those off, and then she puts a plain rose down, and then she takes that off, and then she polishes. And this little bag lady said, she looked at her. She said, what's the matter? She said, well, I had no idea that she died. See, these bag ladies think we're all buried there standing up, you know. I think they do. I think they think that they're walking on
They're
our
walking
heads.
on their heads, yes.
I mean, it's just like, you know,
Right.
the Hollywood Boulevard is like Forest Lawn, you
Yes,
know,
yeah.
except that you got your little Michiganas there. Can you believe it?
Beverly Garland. I'm going to get again. Positive lady, business lady, motion picture star. All my sons, is it?
My three sons.
My three
My
sons.
three sons.
With Frederick March.
With Fred McMurray.
Murray, I mean.
And you know,
He
Fred
was
McMurray
wonderful.
never wanted to have a wife. I mean,
He didn't?
never wanted to have a wife.
You played many wives.
And yes, I played. I played Bing Crosby's
Crosby's?
wife, and I played Fred McMurray's wife, and who else? Who other's wife did I play?
You played
Eddie
others.
Alberts, you said.
Huh?
Eddie Alberts?
Yeah,
No,
well,
no,
Eddie
not in the
Alberts,
series.
yes.
But tell me
not in the
about
series.
Fred McMurray. Wonderful guy. June
Wonderful,
Haver's a lovely
wonderful
lady.
guy. Yes, isn't she a wonderful
Yes,
lady? And
lovely.
Fred DeCordova directed all of those.
Did he
shows.
really?
Yes, he
Fred
was the
did.
producer of the Johnny Carson show, and he directed them all. And Fred always wanted to have the kids, but what happened was the show went so long. And you see, Fred
And so
McMurray-
good, and
Fred
so
McMurray-
clean.
and so
We
clean. But you
don't
know,
have
Fred
that.
McMurray never wanted to do a show.
Right.
And so he went to Don Fettis, and Don said to him, would you do a half-hour show for me? He said, I will only want to work 2.5 months a year. That's all I want to work. So there's no way I can do a show for you.
You don't
and
care
he
to
said,
work
oh,
anymore, do
yes,
you?
he said, I can fix it so that you will only work that long. So what we did is when we started that show, we had every piece of wardrobe done, every single script done, every single solitary set built. We walked in, we filmed maybe anywhere from 5, 6, 7, 8, 10 different shows a day, bits and pieces of those. We did all of Fred's close-ups. We did, and then Fred left and went to Europe. And so I had a little girl by the name of Katie Barrett, and she was very tall, and she was my Fred McMurray. So when Fred McMurray asked me to marry him, I said yes to Katie Barrett, because I never worked with Fred McMurray. He was gone to Europe. And we did all of his close-ups first, and then he left.
Great TV show.
Wasn't it? It was the
family,
best.
Very family.
Everybody loved it. Loved it.
I'm going to ask you a question. What has been the hardest for Beverly Garland in your life? Because you have such a great husband. You're so positive. You're so sure of yourself.
Well,
what has been the hardest?
I think the hardest thing is to stay that way and to keep that mindset and to work at it and to be that person. And you know, lots of things hit you in this world, and you have to take stock of yourself, and you have to think about where you're going and what is happening to you. And there are many times that you know you begin to fall apart, and you can't allow yourself to do that. You have to really work at what you want to be.
You read a
and
lot,
do.
Beverly?
Oh yes,
You must read a lot.
I do read a lot.
Science of mind type of things.
Well, my children were raised in science.
What is your philosophy in life? What is Beverly Garland's philosophy?
Oh, how can you ask me that? I don't know.
You don't know?
I don't know. I think, you know, my philosophy is...
Because you're such a concerned lady.
You know, I think what I really believe in is that people should stop worrying about and worrying about what everybody does.
Right.
People should be able to do whatever they want to do, as long as they don't hurt anybody. As long as they don't hurt anybody. As long as you can look somebody in the eye, and if you can give that person some kind of strength, but let them be them. You know?
They're human beings.
And if you want to be, I hate to say this, but I mean, I'm going to say, if you want to be a prostitute and you want to sell your body, then that's your thing.
Absolutely.
You're not hurting anybody.
I agree, Beverly.
You know?
I agree.
I mean,
you're right.
As long do anything you want, just don't hurt someone. That's all.
You just got back from Russia recently.
Yes.
We're having problems today. The headlines, news of Russia. Shocking.
Yes.
What is happening? What is the thing there in Russia? You were there. You just filmed there.
You know,
how are the people reacting there?
The people have not had anything since the Tsar. Let's face it.
Right.
You know, there is no infrastructure in Russia. It is absolutely destroyed. 10 years ago, 10,000 rubles would buy you 2 brand new automobiles. Today, 10,000 rubles buys you enough food for 2.5 days. That's all. People under Khrushchev or under Stalin could live on 25 rubles a month. They cannot do that today. And these people who are on pensions, that's all they have. Everything is falling apart. Everything is... I mean, I was there in the winter, and then I went into the spring. But the buildings are falling apart. The bridges are falling apart.
Do they want to come back to communism? Is that what you think?
I don't think they really want to come back to communism, but they want to be able to eat, and they want to be able to live, and they want to be able to buy gasoline, and they want to be able to drive a car.
We Americans are helping them, though. We are helping them.
Yes, but it is so far down.
Is it really?
That to bring it up is going to take a long time. Now, the way you help the Russians is to go over and say, let me show you how to do it, not just give you the money.
Well, that's what the Americans do.
You know,
we give, and we don't show them.
But the Russians want to be shown. They want to learn. They want to know how do you become a democracy.
Right.
And what has happened...